Welcome to Encouraging Wellness, where we shed light on the plethora of holistic healing and wellness methods so you can give yourself the power to ask why and become bigger than the condition you are dealing with or the illness you are currently fighting. Join Pamela Wirth as she sits down with doctors, medical experts, healthcare practitioners, and those with unique healing stories to dissect groundbreaking practices that combine traditional Western medicine with alternative modalities. Hear conversations that empower you to go beyond hurtful stigmas, outdated practices, and unnecessary labels, guiding you towards a healthier and happier you. Here, we highlight your true worth and help unleash your inner courage. Now your host, Pamela.
Hi, this is Pamela with the Encouraging Wellness podcast and Hello Health. And with me today, I'm so happy to have Dr. David Owers. And Doctor, you are in hospital care as well as many years of private practice and wellness. So tell us a little bit about your journey and everything that you've been doing in the medical care, trained in Canada, obviously. But please tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for having me here, Pamela. I have been around, you can see by the gray hairs, for about 30 years now in the medical field. I'm a traditional Western medicine doctor. It's the way I got my start. I continued doing hospital medicine. For the last 15 years, I had a private practice here in the greater Vancouver area where we do non-surgical aesthetics, but with a twist. It always had a holistic approach, I guess, I'm going to say. And then non-professionally, throughout my entire life, I've traveled the world. I have looked at all kinds of healing modalities, all kinds of strategies that I just applied to myself, never really thinking that I should do any of that professionally until recently. So 3 years ago, in March of 2020, and I don't need to really go further into what happened to the whole world at that point, but I found myself being a newly ordained frontline worker. You know, it's really funny. I've been doing hospital medicine for 20 years, never was called that until 3 years ago. But at any rate, here I was at a state in March of 2020 when there was only fear and very little information. And that caused a pivot, I'm sure, for a whole lot of people. And not to make light of anybody's experience there, but just to move forward, just to make sure that I can get my point across. It actually, despite everything, despite what I saw, a lot of people go through, and I feel for them all, it produced a silver lining for me. It produced a pivot into the wellness space for me. It was that push, because I saw how needed it was.
So what are some of the things that really transformed you, caused you to start really embracing wellness? Some of the things that you're really feeling passionate about and treating now, because you are doing that as well as you're still doing hospital. So that's quite an undertaking for sure.
Well, I think it's almost like a circle, right? Where you've got the allopathic medicine and you've got the more holistic medicine. The two are necessary; they have their place, and it's almost like coming full circle if you have some knowledge of both. I think it gives a lot of perspective, for one thing. I mean, the impetus for me was this whole world pushing pause, allowing me to pause and allowing me to really figure out, first of all, because for me, I was in a situation where, at least in the beginning, I had to make sure I was well enough to do my service, what I signed up to do, the Hippocratic Oath, all that stuff. And then I thought to myself, well, geez, so many people must be thinking along those lines at this time in our history. It just gave me that idea that there's a wisdom of the body. Right? There's what other people can do for you, but there's a wisdom of the body that you can elicit, you can awaken, and is quite powerful. And I did that for myself. And then I just thought, I have to bring this to people because of the huge transformations and evolutions, I would have to say, it caused for me.
No, I love that. And so when folks come and see you, is there a certain protocol that you like to follow kind of as you're moving through?
Well, the program is in its almost rolling out phase. It's going to be officially out there for everybody come January 2023. We have a lot of things going on right now with groups in the sort of beta testing. Not necessarily, it's not the protocols, it's the delivery of it. You know, how the people would like to receive the information. What's the best way for them to absorb it? But it really does start with just wisdom of the body stuff. It serves just about everybody to do that. Now, there are some people that have a lot of health challenges, and for those people, they might require a bit more of a medical look into with some testing and whatnot. But just with a few questions, I could safely advise those people that we need to go down a different path first before they start. But for a good 85 to 90% of people, regardless of what's going on in their lives, this optimization, it's really an optimization of the body and its ability to do what it was meant to do. That applies to everybody. And that's what my program takes you through. It's a solid start. It takes away the confusion of where to go. It empowers you to find your own superpowers and your kryptonite when it comes to metabolic processes. It's a transformation from the cellular level. It really is remarkable. And based on that, and based on a few other things that we do to help you know yourself, which can be hidden from you, the result you get is really dictated by what your body needs. It could be weight loss. It could be an improvement in symptoms. It could be something happening for the positive in a health direction. It's quite remarkable.
So do you start with like a quiz or kind of digging into people's lifestyles, what they eat, any genetics, anything, along those lines? I would imagine it's multifaceted.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, part of the sort of onboarding is a little quiz that we have people go through. It's a couple minutes long. It just gives them a little bit of an idea of maybe what their journey has been in their health habits throughout their lives, and gives them a bit of perspective as to, what that means. It gives them a type. What's your health habit type, and just a starting point anyways. And sometimes, when people go, oh, my goodness, yeah, that's actually true. That's what I am. It spurs them on to want to know a bit more because it's about themselves. So the quiz is a very short way of trying to have yourself be heard and understood a little bit. And then from there, you spring on to, deeper and deeper levels. It always starts with your big why. It always starts with a knowing of yourself. And from there, it's amazing how your goals shape. And from there, then we start to look at the metabolic and the cellular level.
So I've talked to a number of doctors that feel very passionately about certain diets. Do you feel passionate about a certain type of diet, or food is obviously, first in front of most people's minds?
Yeah, of course, that's the old adage, right? Let thy medicine be thy food and thy food be thy medicine. So I don't like the word diet. It's a metabolic optimization, knowing what levers to pull, what buttons to push, basically, in the system, knowing the players, which hormones really come into play, and then understanding what nutrition does to those things. That's how we really do it. It might look like a certain type of diet, but when you really take a step back and see the entire process, where we're finding out who you are, we're finding out your big why and your motivations, we're finding out your kryptonites and your superpowers, it really is more about what buttons to press, what levers to pull, understanding how food comes into that, fuel systems come into that.
Yeah. And then are you working with folks one-on-one? Is it group coaching? Is it coursework that people, need to follow up on and do some work to, or what does it kind of look like?
Yeah, so it's as little or as much as you want, really. So that we're going to develop a community where you can belong, sort of a group on social media, and there you'll be able to just, just interact with like-minded people, be exposed to some general information on the four pillars that all of this is based on. From there, you can participate in one of our challenges. The one coming up is the holiday challenge. So, as we get into this holiday season, there might be that little holiday weight bump or that lethargy that happens afterwards. You're just feeling burned out and tired, despite all the greatness of connecting once again. So we have a little challenge that sort of sets you up for success, where that, you can just figure out how to apply some of the things, at least in the short term, and get a taste for what kind of things can develop for you. There's a live event that we are going to be hosting in early January, where we spend a bit more time with you, and you can learn what it's like to learn from me, find out how I communicate, and a little bit more, a little deeper dive. And then, of course, that links into our larger course that you can certainly sign up for, that's going to be happening towards the end of January. So it's wherever you want to fit in, and from any of those points, you can expand.
Now, you're Canadian, but then you've also been spending quite a bit of time in the States as well. So how much of your program is in person versus online?
Well, the entire program is going to be designed for online. In this day and age, that is what really is another silver lining, I think, that has occurred in the last 3 years. And the technologies and the ways in which we can do this are just growing. And that way you can reach a lot of people. Right. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be always something that you can access quite easily. And, it saves the bother. I used to go to so many conferences, booking a flight, booking the hotel, figuring out who's babysitting what, in your life as you leave. The expense to time, not just to resources, now has been eliminated.
Yeah, that's very true. In terms of audience, so who is your ideal age group, demographic, anything in particular that just really resonates with you, or folks that are truly engaged or excited about one aspect over another, anything that kind of comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think the demographic often mirrors the person who created the program. So here I am, maybe you have a few gray hairs, you can be a man or a woman, it's all right. Someone who is aspiring for more, somebody who is, highly successful in whatever they set out for themselves. It doesn't have to be a job or a career, highly successful, period, in whatever matters to you, highly functioning. But you just know that there's something else. There's something more that you would like for your life on any level. It could be what you want to give to the world. It could be what you want to give to yourself. It could be an improvement because you want to be there for your loved ones a lot more. The sky's the limit. But it's kind of like people in that stage of life. And of course, there's so-called old souls. So maybe in a calendar way, you might be a bit younger, but feel the same way.
Yeah, and I would imagine that you learn a lot of tools and tips that could be applied to other members of your family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I found in our groups that we have run through this so far is as the transformation occurs to the person, the people around them are looking, going, okay, I want some of that. What's going on? What are you doing behind the closed door over there? Because I've been so busy just trying to lead my life that I've been stuck on watching Netflix and social media, and you're sneaking off doing what? What is that again? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's super. I think this can be really, really great for a lot of people. In the meantime, people can obviously see you in person at your clinic, correct?
Yes, yeah, actually, that's something that we're still in transition as well. So we have developed a concept called 3.0, So the clinic now is its 3.0 version of itself, as the whole world, is shifting all around us into a 3.0 version of itself. Web 3.0, finance 3.0, the crypto space. I mean, it's all happening in ways. So we're extending that now to our general concept. So there is a Club 3.0, which is what our Facebook group is going to be called in that community I was talking to you about. And there's a U 3.0, which is that optimized version of yourself that's just sitting there waiting, that you might not have met yet.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I think, it's still a relatively new phenomenon that there's this connection with the brain and the body. How much of your program, gets into cognition or focus or mental health or mood, or how much of that is kind of ingrained in what you're doing?
Yes, it is a big one. And I'm going to turn the world a bit of that thought on its head a little bit. And it's not meant to be disrespectful to anybody, but, so many people start with mindset, and that's wonderful. And they have programs and they can take you through. What I find, though, is that just like maybe going to the gym, it doesn't sustain, it doesn't last. Mm-hmm. Because your thoughts, your intentions, whatever's going on that higher level, that bigger you level, you can call it, spiritual, or you can just, call it psychological. It's okay. But there is a bigger you, and those things are powerful. I'm not disputing that whatsoever. But guess what they're delivered with or by? They're delivered by the physicalness of you. Mm-hmm. There has to be a brain cell to create an intention. Mm-hmm. Right? The crucible of transformation is the physical. It has to contain transformation. So if your system is fogged, cloudy, not working well, whatever else, the way that brain cell is working is not optimal either. The synapses, not optimal either. Right? And so think about, if you can have a wonderful intention for yourself and make changes, maybe in a state when you're suboptimal, or maybe when you're not you 3.0, think about what could happen with a mindset that has a body that is 3.0.
Yeah, that's super.
It's a quantum change.
Yeah, and in our family, it certainly made a big difference when we took a look at the physical health, and then started applying. The mental health kind of came right along with it. It was a pretty wild.
Yeah. And it turbocharges that mental health. It's almost like, it's very noble to do that, and it's wonderful that so many people get changes with mindset alone. But I just feel as though there's that other optimization, and even what you want for yourself can change.
Yeah. So in your world, are there any favorite tips or things that you really want to ensure that people know? Any favorite foods or favorite types of activities that really drive optimal physical health or brain health, or anything, supplements or anything at all that comes to mind?
Yes. Well, the first thing is a message. Maybe a message that's been a bit contrary in the last 3 years, but we need to have a different one, loud and clear. And that is that you are the master of your own ship, and that autonomy is important. Wisdom of the body can take you through anything, and you need to wake it up. Sometimes the dream faucet's been turned off, right? And it's turning that back on. So number one, messaging. Number two is connection with nature. Number three is understanding that there are powerful processes within you that you do naturally that harbor transformation. Sleep is one of them. As a matter of fact, sleep is one of the first things we deal with in our transformation process, not food choice. Mm-hmm. Right? Favorite foods? Well, for me, it would be sort of high density, high quality foods. Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean for folks that are listening, saying, okay, so what's dense?
Yeah, dense is what I call dense, not necessarily heavy or anything like that from a physical point of view, from a scale point of view, but it packs a big punch. The avocado, for instance, packs a big punch with what it can deliver for you. And there's a list of foods like that. Shellfish is another one that packs a big punch for what you get. So it's I realize that people out there have a lot of different ideas about what they wanted to use as fuel, and that's totally fine. We can work with anybody that way. But that's one thing that we go through, and we teach you to identify those things. Supplements, very, very important, extremely important. And I know that, Hello Health has a great line. But yeah, that's, for us, we teach the basics first and foremost, and then get into the complex afterwards. But there's a key 5. Sometimes when you go to the health food store or wherever your favorite supplement place is online, you come back, with a gorilla arm full of stuff based on everything you've read. All these things are so fantastic, but that could be daunting. Well, we dispel that a little bit for you, help you simplify that. It can be boiled down to about 5 or 6 that you can do in conjunction with everything else that we're teaching you to optimize and get you started.
Well, that's super. Any favorite ways of making sure that if someone's listening, how are they going to know that I need a recharge on my metabolic health? Is just kind of a feeling inside you that you want something a little bit more, or is there a way to kind of screen with you or someone else and say, okay, well, yeah, there's definitely an opportunity here. I would imagine everyone has an opportunity to continually improve, but.
Yeah, for sure. Well, absolutely there is. There's a physical way for you to know. So my theory around all of this is about symptoms and how symptoms have evolved. Symptoms of ill health have evolved. Back before modern times, symptoms were more descriptive of just an entire being. They were just the whole person. The whole person they use the word melancholic, or the whole person, had the ethers. I can't, I'd have to go back. I did do a lot of research on what the descriptors were, right? The 19th century and the 20th century, and the symptoms became something a little more concrete. So it was about the function of the person themselves, right? And all the way down to the 20th century, where it became part of the systems of the body. So then you had a heart disease, or you had high blood pressure, or you had a thyroid condition, right? Now it's gone even more granular. I believe the symptoms now are describing cellular and metabolic things. And the biggest one is fog, brain fog, afternoon fade, apathy in your life.
Anxiety, depression, chronic pain.
Yeah, so in autoimmune, here it is. I've been a medical doctor now for about 30 years, 30 years. And there is, the human beings are quite mysterious, no matter how well you can investigate them. So there is a phrase that we sometimes had to use, not yet diagnosed, right? So something not yet diagnosed. That's happening more and more and more. That phrase that is following a tentative diagnosis more and more and more. And the autoimmune conditions are skyrocketing.
Well, and that's where when we were going through what we were going through in our family, I was really going back into the research and into the data, and I just kept seeing the number of disorders going up, which then made me really do a deeper dive into it. And from what my non-medical background could see, was that it just seemed like they were adding a new name to put a new diagnosis on a new symptom, rather than kind of looking at what was causing some of this. In our case, it was a lot of inflammation, and doing a deeper dive into what's causing basically the body to be so angry and to calm it down.
Absolutely. That's a very good way of looking at it. The body being so angry. Yeah.
So, and doing a deeper dive on what causes inflammation really opened my eyes and frankly, it's kind of disturbing at the same time because it's impossible to get rid of it all, but, certainly mitigating as much as I could. Do you have any
Yeah,
tips for skin protection?
Something I use to try and hammer this home to people in a visual. The tree diagrams, it starts with 1 and it goes to 4 and 8 and 16, right? So you can have this as, the factors that affect your health or the factors that are going on within your existence, your physical existence. And there's another one for the mental and spiritual as well. But let's just look at the physical one. So say it's something like this. I know, I'm sorry, I don't have a flip chart behind me, and you start somewhere over here in the pyramid. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're dealing with someone's blood sugar, or you're dealing with someone's, anemia or kidney disease, right? You can, right, in this cascade, affect change, but it affects change from this level down. It does nothing for the upward in that cascade. So when I talk about our program, we start to look at starting up here, more as high up the cascade as we possibly can, cellular level, cellular membrane level, mitochondria. And then you're affecting the entire cascade.
And it was kind of mind-boggling to me too. I believe that there's more awareness of the blood-brain barrier and what can pass through and what can't. And, it sounds like you're touching on some of that as well, which is exciting. So.
Yes, yeah. And even the juxtaposition of structures within you, right? Mm-hmm. There's something called the hypothyroid inside of you. It has a lot of functions. One of them is to take a measure of what's going on in you, your blood pressure, your temperature, your electrolyte, your sugar balance, whatever else. It's juxtaposed physically to something called the limbic system. Mm-hmm. And the limbic system, not fully understood, but, that's where traumas, post-traumatic stress disorders, all those types of things, fears, all those, very, very gut-wrenching experiences are stored.
Yeah, well, that's super exciting. Mm-hmm. I really, really appreciate everything you're doing. It's phenomenal to meet more and more medical doctors like yourself that are open and continually willing to learn and help others in a variety of different ways. Is there anything else that, we didn't touch on that you want to make sure that we get across?
I think we touched on the biggest ones, but I want to repeat, perhaps maybe the biggest message. Mm-hmm. There is a wisdom of the body. There is a way for you to access it. And there is a way for you to find that something more that is nagging at you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And how may people find you, doctor?
Yeah, well, for the moment, the best is through our website at the med spa here, www.ageless30.com. You can't say 3.0.com because you can't put 2 dots in a website. So it is 30.com. And any questions, anything you would like to know, we'll answer from there. But soon enough, come the new year, we will have a dedicated website for this burgeoning wellness that we're doing.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait to participate. So thank you so much, doctor.
Yeah, very, very welcome. It was great being here.
That's it for this episode of Encouraging Wellness. We hope this serves as an eye-opener to you on new ways to approach your health and wellness. By learning both unique and the best alternative wellness and healing methods, you can live your best life. Listen to more of our episodes at www.hello.health. Be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let us work towards unlocking you and your family's best self. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one.